Hey guys, our devotion today comes from Matthew chapter 18. We're looking at the second half here at Jesus' teaching on parable of the unforgiving servant. Before we look at it, let's remember to pray for the Neal family today. That is Michael and Christina and the little one who's on the way. Let's remember to pray for them. So this teaching on forgiveness, I think, is probably Jesus' most familiar. We know this parable of the unforgiving servant. It's one of those stories that just sticks with you. It's a powerful story. It sort of leads in from what Pastor Mike was talking about yesterday, because he spoke about reconciliation and how to be made right with a brother who's done wrong. You know, Peter asked this question, how forgiving should I really be? You talk to us about reconciliation. Well, what's the point where I can say, I don't want to be reconciled with this person, where we comes up and says, well, if I forgive them 7 times, that's pretty good, right? And of course we know that Jesus says, no, it's not good enough. 7 times 70. I don't want you to keep track of how many times this person wrongs you. I want you to be willing to forgive endlessly. When you sit and think about it, that's pretty incredible. I mean, that's something that we cannot do in our own strength. It's something that we certainly aren't going to want to always do. And yet, what I expect of my followers, to have this endless amount of forgiveness for those who hurt you. The parable that he teaches really helps us get the foundation for this. We know it is the story of this master to settle accounts. Of course, he finds this servant that owes him this huge amount of money. And my cat just knocked that over. But you know what? I'm going to keep going because I don't want to start over again. The story of this servant who owes him a huge amount of money. He can't pay it back. He begs for more time. He says, I'm going to pay you back. We don't know if it's really true or not. Is the heart of this parable. Not only does he doesn't give the guy more time to pay him back. I mean, he's getting ready to sell this guy and his family, I believe. I mean, he's going to make back what's part of what he was owed from this servant. But when he sees this servant humble himself, when he sees him beg for mercy, this master is moved with compassion, and his response is so strong that he doesn't just give the guy more time. He wipes out the debt. He changes this servant's life. He changes everything because he wipes out this huge debt that this servant is not going to be able to pay. And of course we know from this point on, there's a stark contrast. The servant goes on, and he finds somebody who owes him some money, and he ends up being not willing to wipe away the debt, and he wants to be paid. And the story strikes us, how could this guy have such a wicked heart and not remember the good that was absolutely just done to him? And the parable strikes us. It's a strong contrast, and it's not hard to understand. God is the one who has forgiven each and every one of us an amount that we cannot repay. And yet it's so easy for us to walk away from that and to forget it sometimes, and to hold things and realize how much we were forgiven. We don't understand the depth of God's grace and mercy that he's poured out on us. And remind who was forgiven much loves much. And the truth is, if we've been forgiven, if we are followers of Christ, and he's paid the penalty for our sin, we've all been forgiven. Whether we know how much we've been forgiven of, and we really don't understand just how much, that's a different story. But I think for me today, this passage will meditate on God's mercy, on the love of Christ that was poured out, and say, God, reveal to me just how great. And that will change our perspective as we go out. Absolutely refuse to hold anything against anybody. We don't want to be forgive passionately. And so anyways, if God revealed something to you out of this passage today, leave us a message on Facebook, YouTube. God